It's June 27th, 2013, and this is Day 9 Story Time, and I'd like to tell a story. This is not a story of something that has happened, this is a story of something that could happen. Now, I know everyone always has fantasies about what they would do if they ever became a billionaire. They'd buy like their whole state, and they just like rule over it, and everything would be like a huge water slide and all that sort of thing. It's not what I would do if I were a billionaire. I wouldn't buy myself anything fancy. I would continue to live my fairly modest life within my means. But what I would do is I would take my $1 billion, my multiple billions of dollars, and make the most epic science fiction series of all time. And I want to tell you about how awesome it's going to be. I just want you to fantasize about this with me. Here's how it would work. Now, we have to talk a little bit about the way existing television works. The way that most existing television works is that we have some sort of maybe a procedural formula, like the television series Bones. I love Bones. Great show. Very procedural. They have to solve a case. Here are the characters. Go solve the case. Or perhaps there's an interesting season-long arcs like in Alias. But even Alias still kind of has some nice formulas to it. What I would do would make Game of Thrones look embarrassingly childish. I would do a sweeping science fiction epic whose scale is so ridiculous because we don't have to take risks and we can burn all the cash we need to make it absolutely perfect, that it will be heralded as the greatest piece of television or cinema the world has ever seen. Let me tell you a little bit about it. It would have all the sweet aspects of science fiction. In the future, the humans they've like colonized all sorts of planets, and there's entire solar systems that are now ruled by humanity, but there's also other races spread out deep throughout outer space. But if you think about it, if everything is split up by like light years in terms of distance, then communication is also split up by years. Suddenly, the civilization and the culture goes back to what it was when we were in the 1300s. You had to send letters by ship. It would take months for that information to get there. And this is the landscape that we begin with. This is our palette for our story to begin, with humanity trying to battle against itself and certain rebellion leaders trying to spike up and overrule certain regions of space because it'll take years for that information to pass around. And in terms of characters, oh man, we would have everything in this show, man. We would have the child who has nightmares, and the parents try to send her to a psychiatrist, try to calm her down, but they're not nightmares. They're visions of an impending future threat. We would have this leader of the free world, and she would be strong-willed, brilliant, and benevolent, and would try to be continually reuniting the people. She's been reelected term after term after term because there's no one else like her. We would have our protagonists, Junia Mayflower, a disenfranchised 22-year-old woman working at an intergalactic police precinct with her tough attitude and moderate authority. And of course, a captain so gorgeous with a chiseled jawline, rippling abdominals, who's lost everyone he's ever loved. He's damaged. In fact, he owns a St. Bernard that means everything to him. And even though he works on the junkyard planet trying to forget his past, he is Captain Gart Gasper, a name so unbelievably stupid that it could only exist in the future. Captain Gart might be the hope that the peoples of the Intergalactic Alliance needs. So it starts off. These different civilizations exist far away. We trade with them as humanity, but again, it takes years to get to and from. And in the pilot episode, there's just an inkling of a premonition. This is how it would begin in season 1. It would begin with someone working at a transport bay, and a shipment didn't come in. From the whoever's, it doesn't matter, some crazy species. And actually, all the species in this episode would be brilliantly well developed. We're talking everything sweet you've ever thought about in science fiction. We would have dinosaurs with lasers for arms, but not in that JRPG dumb extreme way. This would be a tastefully done rendition of mecha dinosaurs with lasers for arms. This would explain their philosophies, their belief in a greater deity, why they cut off their arms, and who oversees peace throughout the universe. There would be characters that would resonate with the 24 to 48 female demographic that would be mecha dinosaurs. Entire groups of people would write fan fiction about all the crazy things that would go on and all the sorts of smut that occurs in fanfic for the mecha dinosaur peoples, but the mecha dinosaurs missed a shipment. And so our pilot episode begins. A shipment's been missing. What's going wrong? Oh, God. Last time they were late with a shipment, it took months for it to arrive. You can't trust someone that you can't see, who lives light years away. But of course, despite this foreshadowing, in Season 1, no one knows what is truly on the other side. There's still continued bickering. Our wonderful leader of the free world, she's trying to unite, but rebellions continue to spike up. And in fact, the human federation, the alliance that has joined humanity together in peace, is starting to slowly degrade. And rebel factions are beginning to take control of the outskirts of humanity that is already on the outskirt of galactic space. But slowly and surely, all the races that humanity trades with, communicates with, seeks diplomatic alliances with, one by one, they begin to disappear. They start to lose information. They're getting unusual transmissions with huge, dangerous-looking dark objects being barely silhouetted by enormous galaxies, but the transmissions always cut out. And as the United Human Alliance Federation is starting to truly collapse, at the end of Season 1, Gart Gasper, starting to be inspired to step back in, Junia Mayflower, has left her job at the police precinct to avoid any sort of jurisdictional issues, to battle rebels, meets up with Gart Gasper. They have a common cause, but what do they see? They see a ship unlike anything they've ever seen before. A ship that doesn't have the usual thrusters and chassis and make of anything they've seen from any of the other galactic species, let alone humanity. Something that looks truly organic, inexplicably hurtling through outer space at an alarming rate. And Gart and Junia see this ship, a large battleship from the Federation manning the trade fleet, commands this ship to stop. And with a single blast of a violent red light, the ship explodes in a matter of seconds. The premier battleship of the American Trade Alliance has been disintegrated in a matter of seconds. The ship turns and goes away. And one of the last remaining mecha dinosaurs arrives to tell the leader of the free world, the leader of the Human Alliance, that all other species have been killed by beings that no one even knew existed. Organic, insectoid life that everyone has begun to call the Nameless, because they know nowhere from which they could come. And the Nameless are equipped with powerful holorays that can destroy any armor, any ship, no matter how tough. All the technology has been ripped to shreds. All the other intergalactic species light years away have been reduced to rubble. And that one single scout ship who destroyed the premier mothership of the United Alliance was merely a vanguard, equipped with a single holoray, showing truly how terrifying the Nameless could be. Gart and Junia know that this is concerning news. Seasons 2, 3, and 4 continue the exploration of the bickering humans, still trying to battle for control. Sure, all the other species seem to have gone dark, and the United Federation doesn't want to share the knowledge that they have. They're seeing it as an opportunity. The rebels are seeing it as a chance to consume more space as the bickering and fighting happens in Seasons 2, 3, and 4. The first waves of the Nameless begin to show up. Their technology is so advanced, it's indistinguishable from organic life. No one can even get an opportunity to communicate with them because they're ruthless and savage and destroy everything in their path. And Season 2, 3, and 4 would have everything a sci-fi show could ever have. It would have amazing space chases through elaborate cities. It It would have really sweet zoom-ins on planets where there would be some fur-covered creature looking up at the sky and saying, "All hope is lost," in some really sweet, animalistic kind of way. And all the sweet car chase scenes, it would be an entire episode that was like a 45-minute long car chase, the most explosive action sequence ever conceived that would make Michael Bay weep with envy and end his career in a heartbeat willingly. And as the chase scene ended, the captain would take off his helmet and turn around, and it would be Vin Diesel, because that's a cultural pop icon that will probably still be making those movies well into when I'm making my epic sci-fi series. People will be floored. So many different types of resonance with every different type of audience. Children relate to the accessible, vivid art style of the series. Young boys and men love the action. Women love the emotional depth of this compelling sci-fi series. Everyone gets so sucked in. The Academy Awards and the Emmys are canceled because they're all going to go to this series anyways. Seasons 2, 3, and 4. Oh god, I'm so excited. This sounds so amazing. Seasons 2, 3, and 4 are them trying to form an alliance to fight. They've decided, you know what? We will stand together. All the varying rebel fleets, the shattered and broken United Alliance form together to try to battle. But the hollow rays of the Nameless, so powerful and destructive that single bursts from even the weakest ships decimate capital frigates and other such things that sound cool. Although humanity has shown some ability to kill some amount of ships, the differential is enormous. Humanity is scattered and lost. And one of the key scientists gets trapped on the Nameless mothership in Season 5. Season 5 follows only this scientist, this brilliant, amazing, nearly immortal scientist who's been alive for thousands and thousands of years. He's known as the Archive because he has such an astounding photographic memory. He's the eidetic hope. He's on this ship and he realizes that perhaps he, the Archive, has the chance to collect enough information about the Nameless to help humanity defeat it. And this is what's interesting. We don't have to rely on any formula because we have billions of dollars behind this. My billions of dollars. Season 5 departs from all the myriad storylines interwoven to a single one. The adventures of the Archive in the mothership of the Nameless. Sure, there will be bits peppered in there of the Archive trying to figure out ways to communicate with the United Federation, the shattered rebel fleets. Little bits of information get out, and at the end of Season 5, the last few episodes, suddenly the Archive thinks that he has a weakness, but he doesn't have time to communicate it to the rest of humanity, so in one vain hope, misleads the Nameless to scour a far corner of the galaxy, tricking them into thinking that humanity has been there. So Seasons 6, 7, and 8 can happen, where humanity begins to build together to research small isolated groups hiding its survival horror mixed with emotional intensity. Gart Gasper and Junia Mayflower begin to grow closer and closer. She, tough, hard-edged, believes not in relationships but in duty. And Gart, committed to not ever loving anyone ever again because he's damaged. And all the teenage girls will beg for Gart posters on their walls because he looks like Dean from Supernatural. He's amazing. Everyone's dream, including Junia's, but he just seems like the impenetrable eggshell, which honestly are quite penetrable. Look, adamantium. All right, that is some impenetrable shit right there. So Seasons 7 and 8 pick up in the action. The Nameless have returned from a voyage to nowhere, finding humanity hiding away. The colonies that have slowly begun to rebuild to try to figure out how to defeat the Nameless one by one are eliminated until a few 100,000 are back on the original junkyard planet where Gart Gasper grew up, where he lived, where he returned to, trying to forget that everyone he'd ever loved had died. And that is Season 9. You can kind of see why I picked 9 seasons, right? Pretty good number for compelling, riveting storytelling. The holorays having ripped through all the rest of the planets, rubble everywhere, the nameless, inexplicably destroying everything, their motivation unknown, their weakness unknown, but the terror of seeing them keeps all the humans hiding on the junkyard planet, filled with relics from the 50s, old broken Chryslers and Coke machines. And one day, midway through Season 9, at the peak of tension, at the height of concern and fear, when humanity is hoping that just this once they'll be able to live and grow and hide on a junkyard planet, a single scout appears in orbit. A scout so similar to the one at the end of Season 1. You see what I'm doing? Closing the loop. The references are astounding. Lore nerds will jizz their whole wardrobes. What? They'll be so excited. And Gart knows he has to kill off that scout to preserve everything that is left, to preserve humanity, the seeming last remaining race in the galaxy, to stop the nameless insectoid organic beasts. But all the ships are damaged. He needs to repair a ship. He doesn't have any more resources. He just begins to weld various Chrysler bumpers onto his ship, pulling off the chrome plating on vending machines and attaching them to his only last potentially functioning ship. And with a collection of junk from all the old bumpers and all the old chrome bending machines attached, lifts up into space. They can't believe it was even able to take flight. Is Gart Gasper, the heroic, the hero who had a troubled past but was known by many for his brilliance. Is he going to be able to take out the scout? The scout sees him coming, aims the holorays, and blasts a lethal... He blasts a lethal blast, damn it. He shoots a lethal blast at Gart's ship. But seemingly nothing happens. The holorays fizzle off in a web of red hair. Metaphorically speaking, not literally. And Gart is able to get close, fire a primitive rocket straight through the external carapace of the ship, destroying it. And everyone on Earth sees that the holorays did nothing. Gart lands. Junia can't believe it. Good old Gart St. Bernard runs up and he's petting them. The audience are going, "Oh my God, what happened? Oh my God, what happened?" And Gart whispers to his sweet St. Bernard, "There's still hope." And Junia runs up to Gart and says, "What happened? How are you still alive? How did you defeat the Nameless?" And Gart will grab her chin and tilt it towards him. He's so close. It's cold. You can see their breath intermixing in front of them. There's that crispness of the senses that only exists when the temperature is low. And Gart looks deep into Junia's eyes and says, "Well," and he puts his hand on the new plating of the ship and says, "It turns out there truly is note plate like chrome for the holorays." Oh. And everyone on TV will be like, "Oh, what the fuck?" And, there'll be, like, plagues around. And in the next episode, they'll find out that the cure to the plague is laughter, because laughter really is the best medicine. Like, this is how it will end. It will be the cinematic version of the Hindenburg landing on the Titanic. It will be just the most disastrous, unbelievable finish, and I will rub my tummy thinking, several billion well spent.